So, and I know I asked everybody this last year, but given our trophy is a heavyweight championship style belt, I'm going to ask it again, and I'm not going to do it, like the crazy way. I kind of want to, though. Should I? Anyway, are you ready to rumble? Recognize that voice? Yeah, that was my little tribute to the great boxing and wrestling ring announcer Michael Buffer. Fashion, anyway. His actual catchphrase was, "Let's get ready to rumble." Of course. I was beginning there the final rounds in our Small Fleet Championship contest, recognizing excellence in small fleet businesses who've exhibited growth and stability after getting their start, as so many fleets do, as just one truck and an owner-operator with a plan for success. I'm Todd Dills, your host for this edition of the Overdrive Radio podcast for October 28th, 2022. We're going to drop into more from the Small Fleet Champ Awards ceremony, as well as parts of something of a roundtable conversation I had with all 4 finalists small fleets on site last week at the National Association of Small Trucking Companies annual conference.
I'm Brenda McGee, John McGee Trucking.
I'm John McGee. We're out of North Louisiana. We work in the oil field, in the gas and oil fields right there in the middle of Louisiana. We run vacuum trailers. We've got flatbeds. We've tried our hand at grain hauling. So if it's out there, we'll try it.
Chris Porcelli, Cap Trucking, Sanford, Florida. We've been hauling anything refrigerated or frozen for 12 years, up and down the East Coast primarily.
I'm Kay Creech. This is my daughter Jacqueline. We've been in business since 2007. We haul dairy commodities to the local dairies within 150 miles of our home base.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of feed, right?
Yes, lots of feed.
Cows will only.
My name's Tina Dress, and half owner of Holtkamp Transportation, and we're driving it.
That's right, Les Holtkamp, co-owner. I'm 51%, Tina's 49. And we're primary dry van. We've kind of did a little bit of everything, but we've ended up with dry van. And we're coast to coast over the road.
Been in business for?
Wow. Not as long as, maybe started with one truck in 14, 15. Okay. And really after Tina came on in about 15, 16?
Yeah.
16, then we just kind of went after it.
I wanted all of you guys to think back over the past year, 2 maybe, and think about the biggest challenge that you have faced over that time period and how you addressed it. With an eye toward, I think most of you have heard me say this already, but Kay was not there. With an eye toward, giving ideas to the folks out there that are in similar businesses and maybe face the same thing. But generally we want to learn from your individual experience. So that's the story we want to hear. We'll hear all about those challenges and some solutions on the other side of a quick break for this word from Overdrive Radio's sponsor.
With winter fast approaching, it's time to prepare yourself for the conditions that lie ahead. By adding Howe's Diesel Treat at every fill-up, you can prevent your diesel fuel from gelling in even the coldest temperatures. While it safely removes water, adds lubricity, and prevents deposits, the nation's #1 anti-gel will help protect your engine and provide you with the added power you crave. Backed by the only no-tow guarantee, Howe's Diesel Treat will keep you rolling no matter what weather comes your way. Learn more at howesproducts.com. Howe's. Tested, trusted, guaranteed.
That's Howe's, Howes, howesproducts.com. And if you'd like to try Howe's Diesel Treat Anti-Gel Formula or its Gelling Rescue Lifeline treatment, dial the Overdrive Radio podcast line and leave us a message via 615-852-8530. We've got prize packs featuring both treatments as well as other items. We'll be back in touch for your shipping information. That's 615-852-8530. Here we go. Stepping back in time 1 week to Thursday, October 20th, at NASTC's annual conference in Nashville, Tennessee.
First up, in the 1130 truck category, all the way from the great state of Louisiana and the town of Simsboro, is none other than John McGee Trucking, led by John and Brenda McGee. John and Brenda, come on. John McGee Trucking got its start when John McGee was an owner-operator more than 3 decades ago, and since has achieved revenue growth every single year he's been in business for himself. John and Brenda's fleet of 19 trucks today supports oil services-focused companies with tankers in large part, but also will haul anything that fits on a flatbed after a bit of recent years' diversification. John McGee was one of 3 finalists for the very first Overdrive Small Fleet Champ Award in 2020. And growth in power unit numbers has proceeded apace since that time, with an additional 2 added just this year. Better yet, profits last year were 200% above year 2018. Impressive given revenues didn't rise nearly by the same percentage. We spoke to Roy Wise, area supervisor for one of the company's customers, Energy Transfer Company. Wise lauded McGee's operators for their well wastewater haul expertise, and for going above and beyond, instead of just doing their job, he said. They follow up. If there's more loads to be had, they'll call for more trucks themselves. And when they go out of their way, they go out of their way big time. John and Brenda McGee, John McGee Trucking.
I'm Brenda McGee. John McGee Trucking.
I'm John McGee. We're out of North Louisiana. We work in the oil field, in the gas and oil fields right there in the middle of Louisiana. We run vacuum trailers. We've got flatbeds. We've tried our hand at grain hauling. So if it's out there, we'll try it. 6 years ago, we met with Mac and came up with a program to where we were going to run our trucks 4 years, 300,000 miles, buy them with a 5-year, 400,000 mile warranty, get rid of them, under warranty. We kind of get the best return on investment. So we did it at the very first of 2020. The trucks were 4 years old. We were able to get them. But then the supply chain had hit. Yep. And so now we've got 7 trucks that we're trying to get rid of, but we can't get replacement trucks for them. Right. And so, which we had the trucks, and we've done all of our own in-house maintenance. We're happy with the trucks, but we are at the point to where we're ready to replace trucks, and we can't find new equipment.
Yeah, so that whole system that you guys put in place is just breaking down.
Right, right off the bat, yeah. And we deal with a Class C Mac dealer, which means he doesn't sell very many trucks. Okay. And we want 7 replacements, and we're still trying to grow, but we've only got 5 trucks that are going to be available for all of 2023. Right. We're still trying to figure all the ins and outs on that.
Yeah, our strategy was not to buy new trucks just because of the price. We kind of did something similar to John. So we decided to run our equipment while we have. So the miles are clicking. They're getting more miles. And we can't lose thought of that because that asset's going to wear out. So based on the market and the pricing, we bought used. So if I get a good driver, we'll just go buy a truck. I just really hate to pay so much money for an asset with not having a driver.
So back in 2016, attended to a story about expansion beyond a single truck as an owner-operator. This kind of driver before the truck strategy that Les Holtkamp was noting there was indeed something that a majority of small fleets indicated had been their growth model. Though some did note that having the truck first to match to a driver candidate could also be a good recruiting tool with the right operator.
And in the other corner, in the 11 to 30 truck division, hailing from the town of West Point in the great Hawkeye state of Iowa, are Les Holtkamp and Tina Dress. The now 31 truck, Holtkamp Transportation. The Holtkamp dry van fleet was sitting right at about 30 for the evaluation period at the end of 2021, but since has added another unit this year with 25 company trucks, I believe, and 6 owner-operators leased on. Holtkamp Transportation's growth has come and going on a decade in business after Les launched the fleet, purchased a couple of trucks in 2013. The day job in sales and then for a wholesale crop protection company. It wasn't long before we met Tina, who's now fiancée, and they committed full-time to the business, bringing along owner-operators, purchasing trucks, and doubling down on a kind of we're in all in this together philosophy with every owner-operator, employee, driver they brought on. 8 years later, 2021 was a $6 million plus revenue year, with no debt on the business's books to speak of. For Ed Manshine, Vice President and Commercial Loan Officer at Two River Savings Bank, Burlington, Iowa-based institution, has been the carrier's financial partner from the beginning. Holtkamp makes his job pretty easy, he said. Every business has its ups and downs, Manshine said. And it's kudos to Les for having weathered that and come out of it very strong. It's always easy to bank a good business. Les Holtkamp, Tina Dress. Holtkamp Transportation.
So our goal was buy a used asset, make sure it's under 500,000 miles. When it gets to about 499, take it to the dealer, do an overhead. It'll tell you the camshaft, it'll tell you any upper damage, and it's still under warranty. And so we done that with all of them. Once they get over 500, we know the motor's still good, and then we'll just keep rolling it.
So how are you addressing this problem, John? Because
right now we're holding on to the trucks. Like I say, we've got one that's actually being built today, and then we've got another one that'll be delivered in December, one in February, one in April. But the one they're building today is an additional truck. Then December, we're going to have to just stagger what we've replaced. Kind of slow how fast we're growing. And it kind of works hand in hand because we're still wide open. We're still blessed. We're turning down as much work as we're doing. But we can't find drivers, And the drivers we do find, we're having trouble getting them on board. And
So this is kind of an issue, but it's also it's working out because if you do get the trucks, you're not going to be able to find the drivers anyway.
Or there's so much competition. You have the big boys paying 70, 80, 90 cents.
Tina Dress, Holtkamp Transportation.
You're trying to solicit a driver, and they want this big money that we can't compete with that because there's no way we can pay them that.
So we have found the best drivers prefer the smaller companies.
Yeah, that's right.
When you're willing to make a personal relationship and treat them like family, and we don't know their names, we know their wife's names, we know their grandchildren's names, and a good quality driver, which we pay pretty competitive with the big boys, but a lot of them prefer. To work for our family.
Yeah. But the ones that we're trying to get to come over, because they're paying that now.
Right.
And we just can't pay that much.
It takes a lot of talking. And I'm like, hey, I'll give you $1 a mile. Come on board. Really? I said, I'll run you to Chicago, let you sit for 2-3 days. At the end of the day, you're going to be about the same. And then they're like, okay. I said, so this per mile thing is just a hang up. It's the industry so focused. You have to qualify yourself before I can quantify, because I don't even know who you are and you're wanting this money. You might be totally worth it. But at the end of the day, it's going to come out to your yearly salary. So be careful. Get the big money, 10 cents a mile more, but don't sit, because now you're down to 40 cents a mile. So, And then once we get them on board, it just takes a couple of weeks, and they're like, wow, I really like it here. It's a little different from what I'm used to. So
everybody here is paying their drivers differently, I think.
Yeah.
Hourly here.
Yeah, we pay hourly with overtime.
Your drivers are oil fields, so they're doing a lot of site work. They're doing
Right.
a lot of work, a lot of sitting there a lot. Kay Creech. Creech Trucking out of Comanche, Texas.
And we pay commission,
Yeah, like
25% commission per load.
yeah. So you and Chris here are about the same, right?
28% line haul.
Yeah.
Usually starting between 25 and 26, and
Yeah.
after about a year or two, 28%.
Right.
If
And
they're
we start ours at 25, and if they stay, then we go ahead and raise them up.
Yeah.
But it's the same as y'all. It's just they're not out there.
nah,
And if they are out there, insurance won't let you hire them.
Yeah.
So
and they get hung up on that per mile rate. They want to know what the average is going
That's
to be.
right. They're always
They
hung up on
always
that.
want to worry about that.
see, ours don't. Ours want to be home at night
Yeah.
and on weekends.
Yeah.
And that's what they ask for, and that's what we give them.
Yeah.
That's what we have to do.
If they want the money, we've got the loads. Let them take them.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
it's up to them how much they make.
If
Yeah.
they want to make more money, they get up earlier. They stay later.
Right.
If they want to make less, they call in sick. They don't work. I mean,
Yeah.
the work is there.
Now for the final round in the 310 truck category. Hailing from Comanche in the great Lone Star state of Texas is Creech Trucking, helmed today by Kay Creech and her daughter Jacqueline, among other family members. Kay, Jacqueline, come on up here. The team at Creech Trucking hauls mostly support regional dairy farmers and belt trailers, having grown over the last 4 years from six trucks to a 10-truck business. Even with the tragic passing last year of founder Jack Creech, Kay's husband. Jack opened the business way back in 2007 after an over-the-road trucking career. Kay, daughter, and also the grandson, Kay's grandson, Jacqueline's son, Ethan, now keep the business running and growing, delivering on a promise to employ drivers with generous benefits for a fleet this size. The company's motto, if you take care of your customer and you do them the best job you can do. As Kay put it, that motto got around. We've never let a dairyman run out of feeds yet. We believe in taking care of the dairies. While being supplied by Creech, their first dedicated customer, Wildcat Dairy, has grown tenfold from around 500 dairy cows to more than 5,000, said Wildcat owners Frank and Anna Volman. We love them, and we couldn't do without them. They do a great job for us. Creech Trucking.
And you guys guarantee a certain weekly amount. Am I right on that?
No.
I'm thinking of somebody else.
Oh,
My bad.
so they come on, they always have this talk about making, pretty high per mile. And I said, well, if you can't drive 3,000 miles per pay period, then I wouldn't work here. I would go somewhere else. So they're in essence saying, you're guaranteeing me 3. I need you to drive 3 or you can't work here. Oh.
That's the expectation.
So just take your per mile, take it times 3. That's the minimum that I need you to do here. And then they're like, oh, okay.
Ours don't even average 1,000 miles a week,
Yeah.
but they still get.
It's a lot of local work, right?
Yeah, it's all local. A lot of our dairies are 20, 25 miles, and you might pull eight loads in one day.
Right.
So it's up to you how much you want to get in and out that truck and roll that tarp.
Okay, biggest issue that you've tried to address in the last couple of years here?
If it's not equipment, which it has been, I would say fuel prices.
Chris Porcelli, Cap Trucking.
And I'm sure that's more recent to first or second quarter of this year, but yeah, that's been a major setback. Ours
started in
yeah.
March, going up.
March,
and
April.
that's what we charge a fuel surcharge.
Yeah.
And we base it on what the price was back in March.
Yep.
And we charge a percentage of that.
Yep.
But if it goes up, then, we go up, we balance out with it.
Sure.
Yeah. Move it up and down.
Yes.
And we always let our customers know what we're going to do before they get that invoice so that they know.
Yeah. And I mean, are they understanding in that regard?
Yes.
I imagine they,
Yeah, most of them are fairly large dairymen, so they get bulk fuel just like we do.
Yeah.
So they know if we're lying to them or not. Yeah, so you just, I mean, we've always been fair and honest, and we will continue to be that way.
And we're personal. I mean, most of our dairies, we know them really well.
Yeah. Kay's daughter and partner in the Creech trucking business, Jacqueline Creech.
They know that, we're not going to try to screw them around.
Yeah.
It's just not.
Yeah, it's like the customer is part of the family here. You guys are all part of on the same team.
So you set the fuel surcharge?
Yes. But they're specialized. That's dairy.
So you get that like a national or local, or where do you come up with that fuel surcharge?
Back in March, our fuel was $3 a gallon.
Yeah.
Today, it's $4.91.
So like 68, 70 cents of
More like 75.
75 fuel surcharge. See, our customers tell us what it is.
Yeah.
So we use.
I don't get that choice.
No.
Is that right? Who would
I mean,
big company?
Big company.
manufacturers
We would
and stuff?
never be able to tell them.
Yeah,
They
okay,
tell,
okay.
like the ADMs of the world, hey,
Gotcha,
today.
gotcha.
Yeah.
So we use EIA.gov. Pad,
Yeah.
I think it's Pad 7. That's the Gulf Coast Regional Average.
Yeah.
And we have customers, we adjust ours automatically, and we use the same $3 base. And we adjust it either once a month or every invoice, depending on the customer.
We base ours on when we get a tanker load of
It
fuel.
fluctuates,
We have to.
up and down.
Yeah. Are you buying? You're probably buying bulk fuel,
Yeah, we
right?
buy bulk.
You're buying bulk fuel. Are you guys buying?
We looked into it. We were going to buy like semi-loads
Yeah.
and then refuel when they got to the yard. We didn't see the savings based on my
Because they're
program.
not through the.
They're
They're
driving
coast-
all across.
They're
the
all
country,
across, yeah.
Yeah, so we
Yeah,
have a
Yeah,
program.
ours are all local.
Local.
And
Yeah.
that's
So,
one of the stipulations. You do not buy fuel out unless
Right.
you absolutely have to.
And our drivers being home at night, they're on the yard
Yeah.
That
at
would
night.
make sense.
So they come in, fuel the
Yeah.
days in, and then back. So
Mhm.
that makes it, more easier for them.
We have a program set up with gloves, changes like every day.
Yeah.
But it's so much over rack price.
Yep.
And we have to buy X amount of tires. So any of my trucks that are on the road, I don't care if it's, unless it's a steer tire, gets a Vantage recap
It's a
just to
contract.
get them home. And then I put the expensive Michelin drive tire on. I don't try to buy those on the road.
Yeah. What about you, Chris? What have you done to, deal with the fuel situation this year?
Everything that we do is LTL, so less than truckload. So one load could have 12 drops, 14 drops on it, and it's all either refrigerated or frozen.
Multiple customers involved, right?
Yeah, multiple customers, multiple shippers. We consolidate usually at one facility in Pennsylvania, and then we bring it down to Florida and make our deliveries along the way.
Corner. In Nashville today, from down south in Sanford, Florida, comes a fleet with a heritage that extends north to Hunts Point Market, New York City. It's 5-truck cat trucking, helmed by owner Chris Porcelli, here today with his wife, Lauren. Chris's father is Cyril Porcelli, who's in the audience today, and he produce hauler serving the Northeast. They will know from the multi-generational Jerry Porcelli produce business at Hunts Point. Since growing up in that business to an extent, Chris Porcelli has long ago now gone out trucking, first as an owner-operator on his own, and now with Cat Trucking. He's sharpened a clear acumen for serving reef customers with LTL capacity on north-south lanes out of the company's Sanford, Florida home base. Renewed business focus and profit growth followed a twin set of disasters in 2021, the stolen truck and a freight scam that both led to changes aimed at increasing asset security, build upon the company's core business hauling refrigerated and frozen foods. Its revenues and profits are bolstered by stable independence through trip lease with Porcelli to serve its growing book of direct business, even as he refocuses on his core assets and trucks and employed drivers, and one owner-operator leased on as well. So we spoke to one among Cat Trucking's customers, Seth Perry, Operations Vice President for the warehousing operation of the Dutchland Refrigerator in Pennsylvania. Porcelli's been hauling fairly regularly for Dutchland since 2016, when still just a one-truck operation. As Cap Trucking has grown, Perry said of Chris, he's been a great asset to have on the team in terms of reliability. He excels in putting service first without having to put people second. He and I both share the philosophy that this business is no good without people. It's a tough business to be in and keep everybody happy all the time, but he seems to find a way to prevail. Cap Trucking.
We're basically on a sliding scale of fuel surcharge percentages.
Okay.
So, but since a lot of our pickups are in the New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania area where fuel is astronomical right now, it's important to make sure that the customers know in Florida what you're paying, because they're not privy to that. They're looking at what the price is in Florida. They don't know that you're picking it up in Pennsylvania and fuel's $6.49 a gallon.
We had one of our customers tell us, well, why are you charging me this? You should be charging me what it is at the refinery. We can't do that because it costs us more. Right. So we have to do what it costs us, not what it costs in South Texas.
Yeah. I try to communicate with everyone the best I can. Going north, we do LTL produce. So that's a little bit more competitive. You know, when you're picking up fresh produce in Florida and it needs to be in New York City or Philadelphia within 36 hours, 48 hours, they want a competitive price and they want the product to look perfect when it gets there. And then so help you if you're 2 hours late, you know, it's rotten to them. They don't want it anymore. But in the meantime, you're trying to cover the fact that the driver made 4 pickups in a day, 5 pickups in a day. Maybe he had to wait at a farm for 4 hours for the lettuce to get cut or washed or cooled or what have you. So now you're paying them a little detention for sitting there. So I try to calculate all those expenses into a single pallet rate and say, look, this is where I need to be. It's not, don't just think of it as that pallet getting from A to B. Think about it as the driver is making multiple pickups to get it, which they don't care, but we try to explain it to them. And, you know, this is the time involved to get that one pallet of produce to you in 36 hours. For the most part, the customers I have now are pretty flexible. Like I just raised one guy recently that just started up from May when we ended. And I told him, I said, it's going to be about $30 more a pallet. You know, this is where we're at. And he basically said, look, it is what it is. Everything's expensive right now. If you can adjust anytime soon, let me know. But we like your service. So, you know, there's no questions there. So I try not to take advantage of it. But if fuel should come down a little bit, I'll adjust. But it's not. So I can't.
So you're operating not on a typical kind of fuel surcharge per mile. You're just building it into your rate.
I have to make sure the overall number makes sense. Yeah. So I'm not going to change it on them load for load. You know, if one load only has 22 pallets and one has 32 and we stack 2 up, I have to find an average between everything so that everyone's making money.
Right. Okay. Anything we haven't talked about here that had been bothering you the last couple of years that you managed to solve or help mitigate somewhat?
No, we're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
We are. Yeah.
We're all talking about the same thing.
Our main thing has been finding drivers and the fuel price, and our insurance jumped last year, and from what I hear, it's going to do it again this year.
Yeah, well.
So we're all in the same boat.
How much did the insurance jump, if you don't mind my asking?
12%.
12%. And what was the reason given?
There was no reason given.
Okay.
They sent me a letter letting me know this is what everything costs now. This is how many claims are up in Florida. This is where you are.
See, that's what they tell me. We've never had a claim.
Yep.
So, I mean, we might tomorrow or tonight or whatever, but in the 15 years we've been doing this, we've never had a claim. Yeah. But we still go up just like everybody else does.
So guilty by association.
Yeah, there you go. Good way to put it.
Yeah.
Never get a reason. Unless I suspect you did get a claim. I've heard it being pending.
I had a truck stolen March of 21. It was a paid-off Peterbilt glider, 2015.
Chris Porcelli told this story, regular listeners will remember, just last month in the September 9th edition of Overdrive Radio. Find a link to it in the show notes for this podcast or find it via overdriveonline.com/overdrive-radio.
Before the used truck market went crazy. At the time, it was still worth over $100,000. Now it probably would sell for who knows what. And at the time, it was actual cash value or insured value, whatever it was, and they took the lesser of the two. they offered me about $40,000. So, and less my deductible. So I think it was about 41,000, whatever it was. So I told them to keep it. And everyone thought I was crazy. And I said, I'm going to pay 3 years on that $40,000. I'd rather go to a bank and take $40,000 out if I need the loan that bad, because putting it on my insurance to basically just show that I had a claim, they don't care what the claim is. It's on me. So I'm paying on it. So one way or the other, I'm rated.
It's on the loss run.
Yeah.
It's not your fault.
No.
It's still on the loss run.
That's it. That's all they care about.
So you got to figure out the percentage.
We do that. We've had a few just minor things. We had a barrel of Bondo get tipped over in the back of our trailer. So that barrel cost $10,000. We didn't turn that in. The damage to the trailer, we didn't turn that in either, just so that we can keep our rates down. The more
We got high deductibles. We just pay them.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day,
it's not worth it.
When it's time to renegotiate your insurance, that loss run ratio just kills us.
Yeah.
We run a high cargo amount with our LTL frozen and fresh. Most carriers are 100,000 and that's it. Well, we run 300,000. So a lot of the meat we bring down is high value Wagyu beef and imported this and what have you, and it's big money. And before I had all the trailers monitored on my phone, the refrigeration units, I had a driver that had like 7 pallets of some berry acai frozen puree used in some health food smoothies. He forgot to adjust the refrigeration unit. When he opened up the door, it looked like soup coming out the back of the trailer. I got pictures of it, and within 15 minutes, a claim for like $9,400, and I was just like, well, okay, slow down. Let me see what I can do here. But I mean, I didn't turn that one in either. I just
you got to pick and choose what
you got to.
There's a method I've learned. So when it's renewal time, make sure you pick an agent and have him blast the market with the big boys, the Great West, the Century. But then another person to call in. Don't let him do it. Because what happens, you get 3 or 4 agents, they blast that market. So Great West has 6 agents asking for a rate. They'll shut you off. You're a shopper. So I'm really careful. You can quote, but here's the ones you quote. Right. Any new person has to be unique and different, because it just messes up rates all up. I didn't know that.
And I don't know. I know in Louisiana it's the agent of record. They have to have an agent of record letter.
That's right.
To shop you like that. But we switched to a captive a couple of years back.
That's what I want to do.
Oh, I don't know.
You don't think so?
We'll see.
We'll see. It'll pay off in 5 years, but it's those first 5 years the premiums that kill you.
Because it
really,
which we have a super high, liability that we have to carry, but I don't know. I didn't see the savings I thought we would see.
What is it?
it's a private group.
Yeah, it's basically being self-insured. And so you're talking about your high deductibles. So the way we're set up, more or less, we basically have a $75,000 deductible is what it comes down to. Now we can claim, I think we have a $10,000 on paper, but anything that we claim up to that 75, we get to pay it right back to them. So what's the difference? Why claim? But the whole idea of it, and I don't know about y'all states, but Louisiana, 70% of the advertisement on the interstate billboards is attorneys. Standing on the big truck.
You're right about
and
that.
So, we're trying to protect ourselves. We went to, cameras and the telematics, everything is from the, the mega lawsuit if something happens.
Yeah, we have cameras.
And
now.
so
We did not have 6 months ago.
if we keep we get 40% of our money back after 5 years that we pay on a premium, if, less our claims. So if we have a $30,000 claim and we claim it, well, that's $30,000 less that we wouldn't get back in 5 years. And so that's our strategy.
I still think long term that's not going to be a bad program.
And in 3 years, come talk to me. I'll let you know. And what they constantly tell us, because we're just like you, we've been in business since '91 and we've only ever had one claim. And they say, well, if you'd have done it 5 years ago, you'd be your insurance would be 60% of what it is, because you're getting that 40% back every year. But we didn't do it 5 years ago. We did it 2 years ago.
It might not have been available 5 years ago.
Well, and we were borderline.
You got to be a certain size.
You have to get to a.
I thought it was like a $500,000 premium.
They told us $250,000.
Okay,
We're not
I
quite
heard
to the
that.
$500,000 yet.
Yeah, once you go $500,000, then you
yeah.
got. And that's the problem. We had companies hit our truck at a truck stop, and you're like, you did damage, and they're like, sorry, we're self-insured. You'll have to sue us. I'm like, private property, there's no police report.
Yeah.
I go, well, I know, but we're self-insured. You'd have to sue us. I go, well, isn't this a great program?
And a year later, you get your money.
We didn't get, so,
You don't want to
No.
get your attorney
And they know
involved or something.
pretty soon you're just write it off.
Fees.
It's trucking.
What's your biggest fear in trucking? Is it an accident?
That is mine.
That's mine every day.
Our phone,
For our driver.
Yeah.
For one of our drivers, because we work in the oil and gas field, and there's a lot of risk out there.
Yeah.
And our biggest fear, and we run 24 hours a day, and we're a small company, so every phone call we get comes to me. Because when the office is closed, everything rolls over to
Same
me.
with us.
Same
And that's
with
my
us.
biggest fear.
Yeah, that something
That
happens,
nightly-
and I have to go see their wife or
Yeah.
their son or their daughter.
So I'm not alone. It's
We are managed safety through Motive, and so we're on them. That speeding and hard braking and hard turning. But yeah, I fear that too. Number one, if there's a fatal accident, and number two, I keep telling her, I said, you're one fatal accident of being out of business. So
Exactly.
everything you work
Yeah.
for your whole
Yeah.
life will be gone in 1 minute.
And on your OSHA, that's all, until you get, because that's all, I don't remember what it's called on your, because they base it on 100 employees working 2,000 hours a year. And so a lot in the oil field, if our number gets above 3% or 3 whatever, we're no longer safety rated for them. And so one accident doesn't even have to, a fatality puts you out of business, but even a off time, if they're off duty, because how long was Jimmy off? 5 weeks?
yeah, something
So
like
they do a
that.
percentage based on your trucks.
And seeing the
I figured
deal
that
was
how
we
to
only
fix that.
we didn't have enough hours. We didn't have 100 people. We only had like 16 people working for us. But it's based on 100,000 hour average.
Right.
And so,
I got you.
or 100 employee average. So with 16 they could have 6 accidents versus our one to get the
Right.
same score.
You know how you fix that? Add 5 more trucks real quick. Then your percentage is in line.
And we were borderline, and we worked with that customer, but they put us on probation for a year.
Yeah.
But it was simply behind it was a relationship, and they liked us because we didn't even know we were out the door.
Yeah.
Until the
I
customer
know.
called us and said, "Look, we got to figure this out."
Yeah.
Well, they called and said we couldn't work for them.
Yeah.
They shut us down. That was our second largest customer. We
Yeah.
were like, for what?
It's
Because
not.
Jimmy fell out of the truck and broke his
Yeah, it
arm.
wasn't even
Literally,
on their job.
on another
He
job.
was working for a totally other company, and he slipped getting out. He had mud on his boots, and he slipped. And whenever he fell, he stuck his hand out and fractured his wrist. And so that just opened up a whole can of worms.
The percentage, how they look at out of service, for vehicle or hours of service for driver, they do percentages.
Yep.
Don't think it's a fair system. If you only have
We were talking about this earlier.
Yeah, you got one truck, you're out of business. I'm like, so
You went out of
DOT
service.
inspection.
yeah,
Your
Yeah.
rating is
You're all of a
75%.
sudden,
yeah.
I just finished an audit 10 days ago, and because I had 2 out of services in the last 18 months or whatever it was, but because I only have 5 trucks, 2 out of services, my percentage is high. That's it. And that's all they care about. There could be a company next to me with 5,000 trucks, but I'm above the national average now. It's like, but they came in and poked around and they couldn't find anything, thank God. And we carried on, but it's like, why'd you even have to come in the first place? It's silly stuff. You wouldn't knock on the next guy's door if he only had 2 out of services, but because I only had 5 trucks,
Right.
you don't like that ratio. So
100%.
Yeah. Anybody else here had gone through an audit? Does anybody have an actual federal safety rating in here?
Mine's not rateable.
Big enough.
No.
Non-rateable.
You're big enough. I mean, you
Well,
could.
they've given us one.
Yeah.
If you got an audit, you could have.
Well, they came in and they went through
Yeah.
everything, but I think that's just at
That's
the beginning.
That was the
Yeah.
new entry audit.
Yeah.
So we, you just wanted
That's
to-
non-rateable. Yeah.
That's what I've had 2 in 12 years. They're non-rateable for me. So
They're always
it's-
non-rateable. Yeah.
They got to really come in and poke around to, I
Do
think,
the
give you a
full-
Like
rating.
something has to happen in
Yeah.
order for them to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Something more serious than
I love
service.
DOT inspections,
Right.
Because they help you.
Right.
If you know you got a good truck and
Yeah.
driver.
Yeah.
If everything's
Because-
good. If
Yeah.
it's
If
not,
everything's good, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
Otherwise-
Chris has been incentivizing those recently, right? Newly.
I try to pay my guys to volunteer for inspections, but
can you do that?
I do.
How do you do that?
And so I don't know about where everyone's from, but in Florida, you can volunteer yourself at a way station in Florida if you're a Florida-based carrier. So I don't know if you could do that in your hometown or
It's
not.
different everywhere.
Yeah.
Louisiana does it, but just at certain
Yes.
times.
Yes.
Really?
Don't go in there, when they're running the blitz. That's not going to work. But
Yeah.
go in there in the middle of the night when one guy's just sitting in the office at the way station,
Really?
volunteer your paperwork, they'll do it.
Yeah.
And because you're volunteering, they'll just do a level 3 driver. They'll just check your logbook. They'll check your paperwork, your registrations. It's a clean inspection. And my guys have done it. I'd say they average a handful a year, maybe 2-3 a year. And they always come out with a clean one. So it balances out the
Yeah.
non-clean ones.
Yeah.
The winner is Cab Trucker. First of all, thank you. It's an honor to be up here. 12 years ago, I left my hometown in New Jersey to embark on something I had no idea what it was going to turn into. 12 years later, it's turned into a wild business. And if you're sitting in this audience, chances are you're involved in trucking. I don't have to tell you any further that between diesel prices, equipment prices, freight rates, it's a wild world right now. It's an honor to be up here, and thank you all for making this happen. And the small fleet champ in the 11 to 30 truck division is John McGee Trucking.
This is unbelievable. I'm not a public speaker, but first of all, I want to thank Jesus, my Lord and Savior. God blesses me each and every day. He's blessed me my entire life, even before I was a believer, and he continues to do so. And knowing David, the little bit I do know him, I don't think he'll yank me off the stage for saying this. I'm not a preacher, but if there's anybody in this room that would like to know more about Jesus or what he's done for me, catch up to me this weekend. I want to thank Brenda, my partner. She came on board almost 10 years ago, and we've not looked back a minute. I want to thank the men and women in Simsboro, Louisiana, out in the gas fields, doing what it takes to keep the lights on in this great country. I want to thank David and Todd and Buster, the entire team at Mastic and at Overdrive for, in my opinion, supporting the backbone of the American trucking industry, the small trucking companies just like yours and mine. I want to thank all the professional drivers every day that do it the right way. Just like the other speakers have said, y'all are the true essential workers, the true American heroes. And I'm glad that the nation is finally beginning to realize it. Thank you again. God bless each and every one of you, and God bless America.
Here's a big congrats to all 4 finalists. Small Fleet Champs John McGee Trucking and its owners John and Brenna McGee, and Cap Trucking, helmed by Chris Porcelli. Likewise, Kay and Jacqueline Creech of Creech Trucking and Les Holtkamp and Tina Dress of Holtkamp Transportation. Read about all of them via the Principal Small Fleet Champs section of the Overdrive website at overdriveonline.com/small-fleet-champ. Big thanks too to the program's sponsor, the fine people at the National Association of Small Trucking Companies. You heard John McGee there make reference to NASTC's president Dave Owen, whom we can at least partially credit for the program selecting 2 small fleet champs this year in 2 divisions. Here's a little bit of David Owen speaking from the stage just after the presentation, calling back to John McGee's well-considered words.
That guy is not a public speaker who makes me look like a real idiot.
Thanks, Dave. Overdrive Radio is a production of Overdrive, the voice of the American trucker. It's edited and produced by me, Todd Dills, with the acoustic guitar and other support of trucker songwriter and Overdrive contributor Long Haul Paul Marhofer. The theme is Legend of the Snake Man by Marhofer, featuring the guitar work of Travis, the Snake Man himself, Lemick. Terry Two Socks Richardson on bass. Keys by Tishomingo Jim Whitehead, and on drums, Mr. Andrew Marshall. The podcast is backed up further by Overdrive's own news editor Matt Cole, social media coordinator Holly Young, executive editor Alex Lockey, and intrepid video editors Lawson Rudisell and Mr. Andrew Gwynn. Until next time, keep it pro out there.